Hello everyone. Today we're going to be looking at the ABC surveillance method. The reason we use the ABC method is to enable a three-man team or more to conduct covert observations on a subject in a busy environment. The reason I say a three-man team or more is basically because there's three main positions: position A, position B, and position C. If, for example, you have, for argument's sake, a team of six, you can have people in position A, two people in position B, and two people in position C. The basic principles behind the ABC method are to enable a team to observe the subject, as I say, in a busy environment, in this case a high street, or a bad mock-up of a high street, whilst the subject is walking. So if, for example, the subject was to turn left, position C would be able to observe those movements. We'll go through that in a minute, but let's just for now assume that this is a busy street. There's more people between, the subject and position A and position A and position B. There's not just these four people or four positions within the street. There's more people there. It's quite busy, and these are the current locations of the team members and the subject. The positions are simple and easy to remember. Position A is directly behind the subject. Position B is directly behind position A, and position C is on the opposite side of the road or opposite the subject but in line with the subject, which enables him to see him or her turn a corner and signify to positions A and B what the subject is doing. We'll go through that in just a second. So using the direction here, obviously north is up the top just to make it simple, obviously east is to the right, so let's obviously assume that the subject is walking east or to the right, so in this direction. What would happen is typically as he or she is walking along, the teams would keep up in positions like so. Position B can be any distance behind A, so it could be really close, it could be really far, so long as he's got eyes on the two other team members or two other team positions, that's fine. So let's suppose the subject decides to take a left turn and head north up this little side street here. Okay, let's just say he stopped there, for example. Now the reason for position C is now his job comes into play, whereby he observes the subject at all times, and his job now is to signal to position A and position B, more importantly position A, what the subject is doing. If C wasn't here and A was to follow the subject around a corner, he or she or that team would walk directly or straight into the subject, and they would be totally compromised and it'd be embarrassing. So what C's job here is to do, as I say, is to signal to team A or position A what the subject is doing. So in this instance he stopped, so position C would say stop, give some kind of hand signal. We'll go over hand signals in a minute, but for now you just need to know that he is there to signify and inform the other two team members what's happened. As we're using this as an example, position A would just be looking in the window of M&S and wait for C to signal as to what the subject has now done. If, for example, the subject decides to carry on walking, position C can then signal to position A that the subject has carried on walking, it's okay to proceed. So therefore what would happen, typically the easiest thing to do would be for A to follow on behind and B to obviously remain in his position behind the subject, and then obviously once again C would attempt to cross the road and catch up with the team and remain in his position, which is opposite the subject. Earlier on I mentioned C signalling to A and B. The reason I say signalling as opposed to communicating is simple. Using radios in a busy city environment such as London, New York, Manchester, wherever, it's just impossible to carry radios. The reason being is because what is known as covert earpieces aren't very covert at all. So if you were to be seen with them, you'd be stopped by the police and the whole operation would be compromised and it would come to a grinding halt. Therefore, what I suggest you do is predetermined 3 sets of hand signals. Use one hand signal to signify that the subject has stopped, one hand signal to signify that the subject has carried on and it's okay for you to continue, and the third hand signal would be to say or signify that you've lost the subject. You may want to include a full form which would signify that the subject has entered a shop. The use of mobile phones are fine and they remain covert in a busy city environment. The problem is that they take time to ring. Seconds are so vital to a surveillance operation. Sometimes if you have a bad signal and it takes 10 seconds for that call to connect, your subject could have walked 10 meters by then and gone into any shop, you will have a total loss. So therefore, that's the reason I always suggest when it comes to the ABC method, always use or attempt to use hand signals. The hand signals, however, should be discreet, i.e. scratching your head or rubbing your shoulder, something like that that wouldn't stand out too much whilst in a busy environment. So let's now suppose we're back where we started. So the subject is walking down the street, heading in an easterly direction. C is on the opposite side of the road where he or she should be, and the subject decides to cross the road. What happens then? Nothing really. All you have to do is get everyone back into position. So you can either make C cross the road, so he or she is here, and then get A and B to cross the road also, so they are back both in their positions. Let's just put these back so I can give you a different example of what could happen. What you could do is turn position C into position A. So let's assume they've just switched. And then you could have position B remain in position B. So all he does is cross the road, and position A then catches up and turns into position C. So then he is observing the subject in line, whilst A and B remain in transit with the subject. I want to go back quickly just to show you what would happen if the subject was to walk around the corner and for whatever reason C managed to lose the visual of the subject. So let's put these back into position here. As you can see, let's say for example it's so busy that C manages to somehow lose visual and the subject disappears. Let's say for example he's gone into Marks and Spencer's. The surveillance team don't know that at this point, but I'm just going to highlight what you might want to adopt in terms of, try to regain the subject's location. You would have to adopt something what is known as the time and distance method. That's something that we're going to go in another video, so feel free to subscribe to the channel. As soon as that video is uploaded, you'll be made aware of that. I now want to bring your attention to something what's called peripheral perception. So basically, you might have thought if the subject did decide to cross the road at this point, his arcs of vision will be directly on C anyway. So if he sees position C or team C or the person who is in position C, what would happen? Obviously, he would just try to act natural and potentially cross the road into position C again. So then the subject would be crossing the road, he would be here. Peripheral awareness and the subject's vision is a complete different video. It will take about 10 minutes to go over. Once again, it's a different video. We'll be uploading it within the next couple of weeks. So as I say, subscribe to the channel and you'll be made aware of when the video is uploaded. Okay, so that's basically it. Once again, just easy to remember. In terms of positions, A and B are in transit with the subject, and C is on the opposite side of the road, not in line with team A or position A, but in line with the subject here. So he can observe. His main job is to observe when the subject decides to turn a corner and signal to team members A and B. I hope this video has made sense. As I say, feel free to subscribe to our channel. More videos will be coming up. We may even update this video to give you a better idea of how it works, or a bit of an explanation of how it works, or a bit more of a realistic setting. For more information on our training course held in Central London, please visit theprivateinvestigators.com/training.